Hey guys, this is Carrie, and in this video we're going to be making a list game web app. And to show you what I mean, I'm going to save it and then refresh the finished version of it. So we're going to allow the camera access, and then what's going to happen is when we press go here, it's going to decide what genre of movie I am, kind of like all of those very popular little quiz things right now. So I guess I'm drama. All right, so to build this, we're going to need some new functions that we've never used before, and hopefully I get these right. So let's give it a shot. So we're going to be starting from a partially formed file here where we've got list game. The video player is going to be here, but we haven't created the source for the video yet, which is going to be the webcam. And then the button that we're clicking to generate those options is going to be here. So in order to do this, let's start programming in our HTML file. So if you don't have script tags at the bottom of your page, you can start by creating script tags. So you make script tags, and then we're going to go into those script tags. Now the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to select all of the parts of this file that we're going to be interacting with. So if you look at the HTML here, this tag, the video tag, is where we're going to be projecting the stream of the webcam. So first off, we're going to select that. So let video equal document.querySelector, and then we'll just select it using the element type video. Because there's only one video, we don't have to worry about using an ID or a class. Next up, we're also going to be using something called the display area, and that's going to be this part right here. And of course, we're going to need to change the word that's in that, so that's going to be mean that we're needing to interact with it. So let's let display area equal the thing with class display area, so document.querySelector, and then we'll use the dot for class and its display area. Next up, we'll also need to select this button, because when we press that button, that's going to be the thing that, I'll do it one more time. When you press the button, that's going to be the thing that cycles through all the different options. Oh, comedy this time. So let's let button equal document.querySelector the button. And so I think that's all we're going to be interacting with. So now let's start to think about our code. So the first thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to connect up the webcam. And JavaScript's got a bunch of built-in functionality that lets us do this, but we haven't seen it before, so it might look a bit confusing. So I actually just looked this up online, but I have it in front of me now. So we're going to go into the navigator object. We're going to go into the media devices that are connected to that. So if you think about media devices, that would be a webcam, a microphone, and then we're going to get the user media. And this is a function. And inside of that function, we need to pass in, and this is, I'm going to zoom in so you can see it here, it's curly parentheses, two different Boolean values. So we want to take video in, so video is going to be true, and then we'll put a comma, and the audio is going to be false. So we're not going to be taking audio in through the user media, or the media devices. Actually, and instead of ending this with a semicolon, what we're going to do is we're going to say after we load the user media, then, so it's actually just the word then what we want to do is we want to take the local media stream, and we're going to use an arrow function here to some curly parentheses. So I know this looks kind of crazy, we've never seen it before, but this is basically all the code we need to set up the webcam. So there's a big payoff, I think, in order to actually do this. So local media stream is actually a really good descriptor for this. Local means that it's not over the internet. So the local part of this is that it's our webcam attached to our computer. And then the media stream is similar to when you stream videos, we're going to be streaming media from that local camera. So inside of the then part of this, inside of the curly parentheses, we're going to say take the video part of the HTML document, and then the source object for that is going to be this local media stream that we're sending it, semicolon. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to say video.play, parentheses, semicolon. So this is a good sanity check moment where we actually check to see if our file is working as we expect it. So I'm going to give this a save and a refresh. And your browser should hopefully ask you if you can access your camera. This is a safety feature for Chrome because you wouldn't want a normal website just to take over your camera. So we'll allow it, and yeah, that's great. So we've got the video stream working. Next up, we need to start building that interactability. So to build the interactability, we need to focus on that button, right? So the thing that we want to do is when we click this button, we want to start scrolling through all those options. So we're going to do what we normally do. We'll say the button should have an event listener. And you can use the toolbox to copy and paste this, but I don't have it open, so I'm just going to do add event listener. And the event that we're going to listen for is when the button is clicked. So let's click on the button, and then the function that we want to run is, oops, I deleted an extra parenthesis, this, and then curly parentheses, and that's all part of the toolbox so that you don't have to type that in. All right, so now when we click that, we need to cycle through a list of options. So this is a good time to make that list, and we've been learning about lists in class. So let's let options equal a list of options. So maybe this time we'll do what animal you are or something. So I'll be dog, cat, or mouse, I don't know. And you can put as many options as you want in. You should create your own options. You shouldn't just recreate this video, because that wouldn't be very fun. But then there's something else we have to remember. So if you did the picture slideshow, we saw that in JavaScript, it actually numbers the first item in the list, item 0. And in the AP language that we've been learning, it numbers it item 1. So in order to make things consistent with what we've been doing in class, what we'll do is we'll say, put an empty item here, so that item 0 is nothing. And then it works just like normal. So item 1 is dog, item 2 is cat, item 3 is mouse. So make sure you have this comma here, even though it looks strange. All right, now next thing that we need to do is we need to cycle through these options. So we're going to create a counter that's going to change. So let's let I equal 1. Now, the next part that we need to do is, before we start scrolling through these by letting I change, I'm going to move that display area, this thing, onto the video, because right now I have it hiding off of the screen. So to do that, I'm going to say display area dot style dot background equals gold, because I want it to be gold while it's cycling. And I'm going to say display area dot style dot left, and this is going to move the left side of that so that it's in the center here, equals 38%. And this is just a value I got kind of by guess and check. And then lastly, even though we're playing the video here, if for any reason the video pauses before we start cycling through those options, we want to have the video play. So to make sure that that's happening, we'll do video.play one more time. All right, so now coming back to this I counter, maybe it made more sense to do that down here. What we're going to do is we're going to create an interval that repeats. So we're going to do set interval. But I'm going to store that interval inside of a variable. So I'm going to say scroller equals set interval. And this is just like you've been doing those set interval ones in class. You create a function. You can copy this out of the toolbox. And then this. And then you're going to have a time interval that it repeats over. So for me, that time interval is going to be every 50 milliseconds. Now, inside of the scroller, we need to do a couple things. We need to make sure that inside of the display area, it's actually changing the words. So to do that, we'll say display area's inner HTML should be the ith item from the list. So display area dot inner HTML is equal to the ith item from the list. So the list's name is options. So we'll let it be options I. So it currently will be, since I is currently 1, it will currently be dog for me. And then next time through, it's going to change. So let's just do that. I is equal to I plus 1. And that means that every time through it, we're going to be increasing the value of I by 1. And we can just save it and give it a test right now, actually. So let's refresh our page. All right, so I'm a little bit worried because I don't see that the webcam loaded. So maybe I have a mistake in my JavaScript, but let's try it. Yeah, I do. So let's go to the console and see if we can debug it. So unexpected token, semicolon inline 95. Let's see, 38% should be in quotes. I'm sorry about that. So putting that in quotes, I think, should fix problems. All right, here we go. It wants to access the camera, so we allow it. And now it should cycle through these, kind of, but there's going to be a problem. Ah, crap. We got dog, cat, mouse, and then undefined. Let me slow down that counter so that we can actually see that. So 1000, save it and refresh it, allow it, and then go. Dog, cat, mouse, undefined. So maybe you already realized why we're having this problem. It's because it keeps adding 1, right? So it goes 1, 2, 3, and then there's no 4th item in the list. So what we need to do is we need to check if it ever goes past that, then we need to reset it back to 1. So if I is ever greater than 3, then we need to set I equal to 1. so that basically if we ever go past the third item in the list, it resets it back to the first item in the list, which would be dog. So let's give that a save and a refresh. Allow, and I'm going to go a little bit faster of a count, so every half a second. Oh, refresh it again, sorry. Go. Sweet, so it's working. And the last thing we need to figure out is how do we actually make it stop? And this is probably, this is kind of an interesting question. How do you make it randomly? Oh, I'm assuming it's random. You might believe that there's some deep connection that it's reading about you and what animal you are. But I believe it's actually a random number that's causing it to stop. So we're going to be using a function in JavaScript called math.random. So let's see that in action. Math.random, and I'm just going to do it a couple of times. And as I do it down here, you can kind of see what types of numbers are coming out. They're all decimals. So basically, if you wanted it to stop with like a 10% probability, what you could say is if you got a random number bigger than 0.9, there's only a 10% chance, right, that that decimal is going to be bigger than 0.9. So you could check it against some reference value. That sounds complicated. Maybe if we just do it, I think it will be better. So let's go down into our code and let's say let's random equal math.random. So we're generating a random number. And this is kind of like flipping a coin, but with many possibilities. And then what we can say is if that random number is bigger than, I said 0.98, then we'll do something. So what this means is very few of these numbers are going to be bigger than 0.98 because it's generating a random decimal. So most of them are going to be between 0 and 0.98 as opposed to the ones that are bigger than this. So what should happen is it should scroll for a long time because this is a low probability of happening. And then once this happens, what we'll do is we'll say, get rid of this interval that we created. No longer repeat this over time. So get rid of the scroller interval, so clear interval. And that's the opposite of set interval. So now we're clearing this scroller interval. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to say that the display area should now, when it stops, it should be green. So display area dot style going into the CSS, going into the background property should be light green. And then finally, we need to pause the video. So instead of doing video.play, we'll do video.pause. And I think this should be a complete app. Let's see if it works. So refresh, allow, and let's see what type of animal I am. It's too slow, I think. I think we need to speed it up. So maybe every 50 milliseconds. So save it, refresh it, and go. Whoa, that's much better. All right, I am a, maybe the probability is too low. Oh, dog, okay, cool. Oh, that's a really embarrassing freeze frame of my face. Awesome. So let's just see, one last thing to review here is if you want to add one more animal, how would that change things? So dog, cat, mouse, tiger. And then what you need to keep in mind is when you're cycling through this, you no longer want to reset when the counter is bigger than 3. It's now counter is index 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have to say if the index is ever bigger than 4 down here, then we reset it. So let's try it one more time and see if I get dog again. All right, go. All right, cool. So you can experiment with the values. Hopefully you found this interesting, and hopefully you have a better set of options than I do, and this fits this cool new trend that's going around. All right, bye guys.